Would you say starting a film career at age 35 is too late?
Nope, I don't think so. I mean, I think you can start it when you're like 45. But hopefully you've thought it through. Hopefully, you know, you have to have, it depends what you want to do, right? Like if you're a producer, well, I mean, look, if you have a good sense of story and you like to read a lot, that's one type of producer in terms of being creative. But are you a people person? Do you like talking to people? Do you like solving problems? I mean, that's another kind of producer. If you want to direct, I mean, look, I get that's in a lot of people's hearts, but I feel like there are a few people that deserve to direct that have really thought it through. I mean, like the technical aspect of like the camera, of where they can have the idea and the passion on the page, let's say, but some of them haven't really thought about how this is going to move or that's going to move, and they don't have the wherewithal to hire somebody who's a great DP to help shepherd them through the process, let's say, right? I think it's much hard. I fear if someone, I have nightmares where I have to direct something. That's my nightmare, because I just think there's so much goes on in that whole thing. Like I just know my brain doesn't work that way. But it's my nightmare. Like if I was ever have to gun to head, if I had to direct something, I'd be like, I'm just gonna have a panic attack. I've never had a panic attack in my life, but I'm like literally having a dream about this right now, like where I'm having a nightmare. I think that there is a certain amount of learning and skill that goes into certain positions. Like if you want to be, the art director or the production designer or somebody like that, I think you have to put in the time. I think you probably have to put in 10 years before you get good at something, as they say, right? I think that there's certain positions where it may be harder to start later in life, but there are other things that, you could already be very well versed for. If you love reading and you love stories and you love, even editing, you could probably start later in life, but you need to, probably take a lot of classes and also be a junior, assistant editor for many years before you get to the place where you're gonna be able to be trusted to do that in any big capacity.
Would you hire a 60-year-old first-time director?
I think that's a tough question, actually. I mean, it depends on, I don't know. To me, it depends. It depends on are they the writer director, or because if they're the writer director, then maybe there's something to that, because look, that's truly their vision on the page from to whatever it is. So, I mean, I feel better about hiring writer directors in general than I do about hiring a director and a writer, because it's like the same person has to be satisfied, which is good, just one person, right? But going back to your question, 60-year-old director, depend on the person, depend on the project. That's what I would say.
What about a person 65 or older writing a screenplay for the first time?
I mean, look, there's tons of online classes. There's tons of things to learn how to get the format right in terms of helping you with structure, helping you with maybe some of the subject matter. There's a lot of really great first-time screenwriters, right? I would have no problem with that, depending on how good the script is. There's a lot of experienced screenwriters who write a lot of shitty things too, by the way. So it's like there's no. I would have no problem with it, depending on the person, of course.
Cliche question, but I just have to ask it. Best piece of advice someone gave you starting out, and worst piece of advice? You leave out the names to protect the non-innocent.
Well, going back to the shorts, you're making a short, make it short. That was one good piece of advice. What was the worst advice? Rotten Tomatoes doesn't matter. I had a publicist tell me this one time. Rotten Tomatoes doesn't matter. And I got in a yelling match with them. And I was like, are you out of your mind? Let me tell you why it matters. Because when you're dealing with a movie, maybe for horror movies it doesn't matter, because it doesn't sometimes. It really doesn't. Like whatever slasher, maybe it doesn't matter. When you have a movie that rides the line between genres, that could be a thriller and it could be a horror movie, right? It absolutely does matter. Because what's happening in this day and age, that this person didn't realize, is that the different streamers are putting that number, that Rotten Tomatoes certified fresh, right next to your movie. When people are scrolling through, that movie, that pops up literally in the scrolling, it'll pop up. And I can say, oh wait, that's 88%, I might give that a chance. Okay, why not? Let's try it. The other thing they do in the streamers is they put you in subcategories. Rotten Tomatoes accredited is a category. Critically acclaimed is a category on Netflix, for example. This is one more category you're gonna be in when people are scrolling, so they can pick you, right? That is why Rotten Tomatoes matters, and that's why this person, who will go unnamed of course, was completely wrong.
Do you believe things happen when they're supposed to happen?
100%, 100%. I mean, fate, karma, whatever you wanna say, I feel there is, what you put out of the universe is what you get back a lot of times. And I feel like if you put the work in and you put your heart into something, sometimes it won't happen for you, but sometimes it does happen for you. And I think that, look, no one can decry hard work, but as long as you're working smart, that's the other thing too. Like, just don't slam your head against the wall again and again. Learn from your mistakes, figure out ways to make things work when they're not working, and try to surround yourself with people who are like-minded people who want to get stuff done, who aren't just like the people that are like, oh, we're gonna sit around and look at the sky, maybe one day we'll do that. No, we're the getting shit done crew, okay? And I want to surround myself with those people, and that's gonna be our team. That's who we want to work with. That's what you need to work with if you want to be serious about this business.
Do you think that there's a way to tell who those people are when you first meet them? Or no, it takes time?
I think it takes time. You got to see, look, you meet a guy and he's like, oh, I'm working on this script. And 10 years later, I'm working on this script. Okay, great. Well, you keep working on that script. That's cool, you know. It's sad to say, but like, I think there's a certain level of person who's a serious person, and there's a certain level of person who's like living in LA and working at Starbucks and calling themselves an actor, who's not really an actor right now, or not trying to be an actor, who's not like taking the classes in their spare time, or, you know what I mean, like acting in short films for free because they're hungry and they want to get a good reel and hopefully get a good agent or manager, whoever's gonna help them go to the next level. You want to surround yourself with that serious type of person. You don't want a person who's like kind of half in, half out.
But that's not something you could be able to discern right away.
I mean, so you meet someone at a party, you don't know about them. But, you know, you meet them at a party again. Well, I'm going for network for this thing. Oh, that's great. That's great you're doing that. Fantastic. You know, good for you. I should try to hire him for the thing. You know, like, whatever it is, so we can get him cheap. Well, you know, we can still get him for cheap.
Do we always wish we'd find our way sooner?
I mean, that's 100%. I think everyone looks back on what they could have done or whatever. If I'd, you know, actually gone to USC and gone to film school instead of going to like being a psycho-bio major. Although I'll tell you this, you know, doing that helped me out quite a lot in terms of like testing movies. Like, you know, there's a psychology that goes into an audience. There's also a psychology that goes into filmmakers. How can I calm this person down? He's a crazy person. He's literally a crazy person. I need to like figure out how to like, you know, crazy talk that person down or whatever. I've got to be like the crazy whisperer or something like that. So psychology definitely helped with that. You know, look, I mean, would I have traded 18 years of doing market research for being a producer sooner? In some ways, no, because I think it gave me a different perspective. A different perspective that a lot of filmmakers don't have. And I think I see things more sometimes, and fault me or not, from a commerce aspect than an art aspect. I see both, but I don't think that people who are artists necessarily see the commerce, and they need to see the commerce, unfortunately. Like they are unaware that this thing is gonna need to be sold. It's gonna need to be like packaged. It's gonna need to be a lot of different things before people actually ever watch it. And then you get acclaim and quote unquote money and the swimming pool and the supermodel girlfriend or whatever the hell it is you want. Like people want all kinds of things. You're gonna have to figure out there's not just your vision, there is a commerce to the whole thing. And I think that because of what I did, I realized that, it's part of my DNA. So I think that I bring that to the table that I wouldn't have before if I hadn't done the job I did before.